Good afternoon and welcome to the 154th edition of the Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. We've got a new setup today. It looks great, I'm sure. And we have two outstanding guests, and we have them on a week before they play huge matchups. We're going to have Valdosta's head coach, Shelton Felton, on. They're getting ready to square off with Lowndes next week. We all know how good that rivalry is, the Wintersville Classic. And then we're going to have East Coweta head coach on, John Small, and they're getting ready to open up region play against Carrollton. So two great matchups that are going to impact 7A. We're all going to be watching, and we're just going to go ahead and get into it with Coach Felton right now.
How you doing?
Doing well, Coach. Thank you for coming on. So how's the off week been? You guys are sitting pretty at 6-0. You know this region's going to be tough and a huge opportunity for you guys to return to the playoffs. But what have you guys been doing this off week?
Well, mainly in the off weeks, we've just been correcting Valdosta, fixing the things, that, little mistakes and things we made in the 6 games, trying to get healthy and just get prepared with little details and working on fundamentals of football to be prepared for this big game next week.
Yeah, one of the things that stands out to me is just how well your defense has played. We know all the turnovers. I think it's Tim Robertson has been getting with the 7 interceptions. But just in terms of the points allowed, few teams have had any success getting it into the end zone. So talk about just that defensive effort you've seen and how that's going to carry you on into the region.
Well, we take pride in defense here in Valdosta, and we believe in playing physical and fast on defense, and we feel like our defense going to tote us game by game, and we take pride in not allowing people to get in the end zone. And I think we're going to be ready to play this Friday, and we're going to continue the effort and the intensity of not letting people score. And doesn't just because we're playing about Lowndes, it's nothing. The expectation is still going to be the same. We're going to play lights out on defense. That's our goal every Friday.
Yep, you guys are giving up just 4.83 points per game. It's really impressive. But what did you see just out of the gates? You played North Miami at home, Cook at home, Banneker at home. So just those 3 home games. What was it like just coming off last year where you guys knew you weren't going to be allowed to get into the playoffs because they carried over those sanctions, or I don't know if that's the right word, but you guys still fought really hard last season, but then just to have this fresh region, fresh opportunity ahead of you, just those 3 straight home wins.
Well, man, we preach every day this off season, even with the last year team, control the controllables, and Ryan Valdosta said the standard is the standard. We want to play great football, and we're a very young team. We only have 3 returning starters out of 22. So to get those guys playing experience, able to play week by week, we just gain. We just got better week by week, and we just got confidence week by week. And it's always good to win. And winning makes kids play better, and it gives them more courage, and it gives them more willing to buy into what we're doing to see that it shows on Fridays.
Yep, and as a coach, it's kind of like 2 different things. You're trying to prepare for everything, but you're also trying to be adaptive. So in order to do that, you mentioned that you guys were a young team. Has that been just a focus, trying to build that depth so you guys can continue just moving guys around, rotating them, and just putting the best 11 guys out there play after play?
Yes, it has. We're trying to play a lot of guys to build depth, as you're saying, and just trying to get playing experience. And we're trying to stay simple and fast so those guys can learn and play fast and eliminate a lot of thinking. When the kids think, it's slow. We don't want to be a slow team, so we want to play fast and simple and get out to people in all 3 phases. So it's been a learning curve for the guys, but we're able to get a lot of kids on the field and play. And we have seniors, but those seniors didn't play last year, so it's game by game. Kids are learning the game speed, and like anybody that played the games, is different between Thursday night and Friday night. So it's been a learning curve, but it's been a good one so far.
Yep, and then offensively, Todd Robinson, your sophomore quarterback, he's done a good job protecting the football, uh, keeping the passing game going. And then offensively, it looks like the running attack has been really good. Obviously, that takes a physical effort to kind of average close to that 200 yards per game. Teams know you want to establish the run. So how have you guys been able to kind of dictate the pace of the game and be able to close out 4 quarters running the ball well?
Well, that's our standard here at Valdosta. We're going to run the ball. We're going to be physical and fast, and we're going to run the ball at you, and we're going to do it in different ways, different formations. We're going to tempo, do different things to create matchups in the run game. We feel like we're a physical team, so we're going to run the ball and we play great defense. So we're not going to turn the ball over. We're going to we're going to run the clock, lay on the ball, and just come at you. And you're going to have to stop us in the run game. If you put too many in the box, we're going to take our shots.
Absolutely. And let's just talk about how being the head coach of this Valdosta program, I mean, wow, all the history. We have this Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame coming up, and just looking back at what Valdosta has been able to do, honestly, just to elevate the entire state and Southeast over the years. You said after you took this job that, I mean, even though you've been in the college positions, that you're really a true high school football coach. That's kind of where your passion is, and how has this been just in this 2022 season to be out there with this opportunity your guys have and just all these big games?
It's been great, man. Valdosta has so much tradition. I mean, I don't care where you in the state of Georgia. You know about Valdosta High School, and I'm just an honor to be the head coach of Valdosta. And the opportunity presented itself, and then my goal is to make it as better as it was before I go. As long as I'm here, I plan on winning, and the biggest goal here is to do it the right way, to get Valdosta back on track, doing things the right way. We're going to compete every Friday night, and when you play Valdosta, you know you're going to be a war. That's our goal going into this thing, and to make Valdosta the team it used to be in the past. And at the end of the day, we're still Valdosta. That's what we preach to our kids. We are Valdosta.
Yep, and just let's talk a little bit about that rivalry game between Lowndes, the Wintersville Classic. I mean, I've never been to it. I know it's the premier rivalry anywhere in the state, but I mean, I've seen the videos. It is just the pageantry, the excitement, the whole community comes out. It's a big game no matter what every year. But I think something that stood out last year, just with Lowndes having Ja'Curry Brown, he was such a just superstar athlete that that entire Valdosta area just knew how good he was, knew how excited it was, and yeah, the Wildcats might not necessarily be fans of Lowndes, but there was still that genuine respect. So, what is it like just that Valdosta Lowndes matchup, just in the community and the excitement around it?
Oh, it's huge. It's like I tell anybody, it's Auburn, Alabama, it's Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Florida. It's huge. Everybody in the community. We're on this week. We're divided, black and gold, and maroon and silver. It's no in between, and I love it. Everybody goes out, support. End of the day, it's good for this community. It's good for these kids, and I look forward to being a part of it. It's a rival within a rival. Me and Coach Graves, we coached together for a while. We've been friends a long time, and that's that rival. And it's the rival of Valdosta Lions, and it's huge. It speaks volume in the state. It's the older rival in the South.
Yep, it's going to be a top 10 matchup too. Lowndes has had some big wins, but let's just talk about this Region One you find yourselves in. I mean, I'm looking at kind of how this season has unfolded. I think there are just a lot of teams playing great football. I think a lot of these classifications are wide open. I think 7A is as well. But it just seems like when South Georgia is having a lot of success, it just adds that special buzz to everything. I mean, you have the powerhouses up in Metro Atlanta, and then you look at this region right now. There's not one team that has a losing record. Colquitt's at 6-0. You're at 6-0. Camden County's at 4-2. Lowndes 3-2, and they're seemingly getting better and better. Then you have Richmond Hill, kind of new to that group of powerhouses. But I mean, how tough do you think this region stretch is, and just how prepared are your guys just to accept this challenge?
It's a tough region. We call it the SEC of the South. It's a tough region. We can have great coaches on each team, and each is physical football down here in the South, and we prepared for it. We worked all off season. We worked on in season for this. We know the expectation of this region. It's going to be physical and fast. Top to bottom, there's no weak team. Every Friday is going to be a game. It's going to be a good matchup. You have to play 4 quarters every Friday. We look for We're looking for the challenge, and we're going to accept the challenge. And I think this is a tough region. I think this region is going to be hard to deal with playoff time. So it's going to be a slugfest every week, but we look forward to it.
Yep, and then yeah, we mentioned how good the defense has been, but let's talk about the offense a little bit more. Your quarterback Todd Robinson, I talked about his passing. He's obviously been able to do some great things, running the ball as well, averaging about 60 yards per game. But who else has really just stepped up and been able to fight for those key first downs and also just help punch it in the end zone and get those points when you need them?
Well, we know, like I said, we're led by a sophomore quarterback, Todd Robeson. He's a young guy, hasn't really played a lot of football at quarterback, but he's getting better and better week by week. We have a committee of running backs: Charles Williams, Ahmad Denson, Jordan Gatlin. We have a lot of those guys. We do it by committee. We just don't have this the one guy, and we do it by committee. We preach team first, and those guys buy in, and we just share the ball. And we're led by Jalen Whitehead, a receiver, and Tyler tight end, and Jamar Griffin. With those guys just playing week in and week out, and we just play team ball on offense.
And do you have any guys that are going two ways if you need them? Just guys that might be starting in the secondary, coming in and being able to take the top off of defense?
Well, every now and then, with each team, you try to have those weapons.
We good? Did it cut out? Okay, looks like it cut out. But I'm just going to refresh what he was saying. That's Ahmad Denson. He's had 226 yards rushing and a touchdown. Jordan Gatlin, he's a junior. He's chipped in with some big carries. You have Charles Williams. He has 4 touchdowns this season. Brantley has 6. But, I mean, Charles Williams, he's had a 70-yard touchdown run. The quarterback, Todd Robinson, he's broken off an 89-yard touchdown run. So they have that big playability, even though that they also have that physical aspect. Valdosta is always a very fast team, and that Lowndes matchup will be really exciting. I think when you look at – do we have him back? Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you were talking about the receivers. I think that's Jalen Whitehead. We talked about maybe some guys that are able to play two ways or contribute in that. But let's just go to the defensive side. I think I was talking about Robertson, what he's been able to do with the 7 interceptions. And if I believe he's been like a 3-year or 4-year starter, and he's really had a ton of interceptions over his career.
Well, he's one young man that he lives by the definition of hard work pays off. He had a great off season. He had a great summer camp. He's just been playing lights out, studying film, and making plays on the secondary. He's attacking the ball and being aggressive, but it also helps to have a great D line that allows pressure. So he's taking advantage of all those, and we're proud of the way he's playing, and we expect him to keep playing the way he's playing all the way through the rest of the season and the playoffs.
Yep, and then let's see. You guys have had a ton of tackles for loss. I think is it Brantley who's also been able to get involved on the
Yeah.
running the ball?
Yes, we're led by on defensive line out front, Eric Brandon Jr. He's a very explosive player. He's very, very good at what he does. And we have Omar White. He's another one that leads the team in tackle for losses. And we have TJ Morris up front, of the man in the middle. Those guys play very good up front. I think our D line could be just one, if not one of the best in the state, in my opinion. Those guys play good together. Linebacker core is very young but fast at time. We does a great job there, and we're senior led at our outside linebacker, Jakari Curry, does a great job. But we're on defense. We are very aggressive defense, and we play fast and physical.
Yep. And who would you say is just like the strongest, most physical presence you have on defense this season?
uh, that's a tough one.
Well, let's just put it this way: if I have the ball in my hands and I'm on offense, who do I want to avoid?
Eric Brandon Jr., Omar White.
Yep. Would you say overall, though, I mean, you talked about how the defense has played well. I mean, has the tackling just been really good this year, just not allowing the big plays, getting the guys down, the good fundamentals?
I think, like I said, we've done a great job. Our defense coordinator, Coach Buck, Tracy Buckham, done a great job of teaching the fundamentals of tackling, running to the ball, and 11 hats to the ball. I mean, we've missed tackle, but because our pursuit to the ball has been so good, we're able to tackle and get them down. So I think we've done a great job on defense and just keeping, as we said in Valdosta, keep the deep ball down and just keep everything in front of us. So that's been really working really well for us so far.
And then obviously, I mean, practice has to be really competitive, just with all the talent you guys have on defense. You guys mentioned all the young guys that are really coming into the fold for the first time and having their breakout year. So, how has the tempo and just overall focus and effort and competitiveness been at practice so far this season?
Oh, it's good. We preach competitiveness at practice. We're going to compete every day. We're going to have physical, fast practices every day, and we're going to compete. We're going to do good on good. I mean, you need to have that live action to be ready for game action, and it gets in the sluggerfest out there. And the kids love to compete. The coaches get into it. It makes practice a sight. We love it, and we have those competing periods when we do, and they know it's ones on ones. We're going to go after each other pretty well.
hmm And then I know teams like Colquitt, year in and year out, they always seem to have just tremendous kickers, guys that can uh, step up and hit these 45, 50-yarders. But also something I've seen this season a lot is there's been a ton of blocked field goals in key moments, a ton of blocked punts, and then the return game. So, I mean, how have the special teams been for you guys so far? And just how important is that going to be just going against teams that really are sound in all three phases?
Well, it's going to be great for us. I mean, we preach in our program with three phases. We just as much time we spend on offense or defense, we spend on special teams. Coach Philip Brown and Coach Josh Norwood, our co-coordinators on special teams, does a great job of scheming and getting those guys prepared for every Friday. And our goal is we're not going to lose the game on special teams. And we take pride in our special team because it's just as big as our offense and our defense. So we put our best players on it, and we scheme just like anybody else, and we prepare every week for special teams. We take pride into it, so we're able to block kicks and change the game. And that's our goal every Friday.
And then just last question, when it comes to this Valdosta Lowndes game, I mean, is there, I don't know, a trophy or something that gets handed back and forth for the winner of this game?
Yes, it's a trophy. I saw it from a distance, but my plan is to see it close up this year.
Yeah, you bet. All right, well, Coach Felton, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to it. Great start, 6-0. I'm really excited about just watching you guys continue. Your young quarterback, your defense has been so outstanding. So thank you so much, Coach, and enjoy the weekend.
You too. Thank you for having me. Go Cats.
Go Cats. All right, so that was awesome. Valdosta looks outstanding. I mentioned they didn't get to make the playoffs last year, but uh, they still played hard, and now they're eyeing that prize and trying to make a big run this year. So we'll take a quick break. Thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So Valdosta looks exciting, but so does our next team, East Coweta, and they have a massive matchup against Carrollton coming up. And they've had some guys that are just having monster breakout seasons. The quarterback Langford, you have Brady Tillman. What he's done catching the ball is really impressive. So I'm excited to have Coach Small on. Okay, we don't have him? All right. So let's just look at what they've done so far this season. So, yeah, I had reached out to Coach Small. I think he wanted to come on at 12:15, but because I think he was busy, but it's okay. So they started off the season with that loss to Stars Mill. Stars Mill, by the way, they're going to play Trinity Christian tonight. That is a huge game. Stars Mill had a big victory over LaGrange to open the playoffs to open the region. They went for it on 2 points in overtime to get that 1-point victory. And then this past week, Troop absolutely demolished them. So they're still a top 10 team. They're ranked number 10, but they're going to want to bounce back from that Troop loss, which Troop picked up a 63-0 win over North Clayton to move to 3-0 in the region. So you have Troop at 3-0. Trinity Christian is at 2-0 right now, so they're trying to get this win over Stars Mill, and then that's going to put them up there. Then Stars Mills, they're at 1-1, and then LaGrange just got a big win last night over, who was that? I think it was Whitewater. So that's a big matchup to watch for tonight. Stars Mill against Trinity Christian. Huge one. But so East Coweta falls short in that one. Stars Mill is a great team. The next week they bounce back, have a win over Noonan, and then the 55-21 victory over Hillgrove. That was Coach Small's 100th career victory. He was previously at South Gwinnett, had success there, and then that was a big one here at East Coweta. And I think what's more impressive about that, what Coach Small's been able to do to hit that 100-win milestone, is East Coweta is known for scheduling the best of the best. People, I think, before they realized that East Coweta really could compete at that level, they would kind of look at it. It's like, what are they doing scheduling like back-to-back games against like Grayson and Lambert? But then that has paid off. They are prepared. They pick up big playoff wins year after year, and they might not hit that 10-win milestone each season. They'll more likely finish around like the 7-5, 8-3s, 9-2s. They aren't having just some easy non-region schedule, but they have an opportunity this season. They're at 4-2 to hit that 10-win total, I think, for the first time. And they've always been, as I said, at like the 7, 8, and 9. So their region, though, is going to be very difficult. Carrollton, Campbell, Westlake, Pebblebrook. But I'll go back to their non-region before we get into that. They had that win over Hillgrove. That was the 100th victory. And then they played Sandy Creek. That's a very tough team. Down in 3A, they were ranked number 5 at that time. And they pull out a 23-20 overtime victory. And then came the big one. They host Lowndes. That was on September 16th, so about 3 weeks ago. And they get the 49-34 win. Their quarterback – oh, we got him? Awesome. All right, Coach Small, thanks for coming on. How's it going?
Doing good. How you doing today?
Doing great. So here's where I left off. You got your 100th career win. Was that after the Hillgrove or Sandy Creek game?
That was after the Noonan game.
Okay, the Noonan one.
Game 2, yeah.
All right. And I know you were kind of embarrassed to make – I don't know, it kind of made it about you, but it's obviously not. It's about the players. It's about just impacting guys at the high school level and having that. But what was it like, though, just to get that 100th win and just a key home game over Noonan to get you guys going?
Well, you know, it's never going to be about me. There's a lot of coaches and a lot of players that all played a part in that, and I'm just honored to be able to do what I do for a living, to work with young people and great coaches. You know, so I know that's a milestone win as a head coach, and but a lot of people played a part in that. And, you know, obviously winning it against Noonan, our crosstown rival, just made it a lot sweeter. And I got both my girls in college now, and they were both back at the game, and it just made it a great night for our family and for our program and everybody involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. And especially, I mean, coming off the loss to Stars Mill in the first week, I mean, what did you see in that game? I was mentioning that Stars Mill is a really talented team. I have them ranked fairly high in 4A, but obviously that's a tough kind of close neighborly rivalry game right there.
Yeah, you know, that Coweta Fayette Classic game, we've done it the last 3 years. It's been awesome for both communities down here. And they're a good football team, and, you know, we probably got a little bit ahead of ourselves. in what we thought of ourselves, and got humbled. We turned the ball over 5 times in that ball game, and that's not a recipe for success. But what I saw in that game was a lot of fight from our kids, not a lot of finger pointing, and they really owned it after that game. You know, they were embarrassed in the way that they played, and we got beat by a good football team, and our kids knew that, but we knew we didn't give ourselves a chance. And those kids came back in Monday right after that, and they got up in front of the team, a lot of them, and said, hey, that's on me as an individual. I got to do better for my team. They really took ownership in it, so I was really proud of the way that they handled it, and they've really become a selfless football team, not a selfish football team. So really proud of their growth through that.
Yeah, and obviously winning's fun, but I mean, since that game though, have you seen just the offense, the defense just play with more energy and focus and kind of be more in tune to the opportunities ahead of them? Like, you can't just expect things to happen. You kind of have to make them. So have they taken kind of more accountability and just a sharper focus since that game?
They really have. You know, they've really been a tight-knit group of kids. We got 39 seniors on this football team.
Wow.
You know, not all of them play, but they are a part of our program and have been. We've got over 207 kids in our program down here, 9th through 12th. So all the kids have really bought into the culture and the philosophy and the standard that we've set forth for them, and the guys that have been before them have laid out. And, they know they didn't play well. They came back to work, and they've been business-like every week. And you know, we lost a tough one last week against a Lambert football team that.
Okay. So we lost them for a second, but yeah, that game against Lambert is still undefeated. That was a 31-24 loss, close game the entire time, and that was obviously disappointing because they had just gotten the big win over Lowndes. Okay, he's back. All right, Coach.
I don't know what happened.
You just cut out for a little bit. But talk about that Lambert game. I was really curious. You guys had come off a 4-game win streak, the big win over Lowndes, where I thought you guys really pushed the pedal to the floor in that one. As soon as you guys got the lead, you guys didn't stop. Brady Tillman was incredible. Your quarterback Langford was outstanding. And then it looks like there were some mistakes perhaps in that Lambert game. You guys definitely fought in it. Lambert's a great team. No discredit to them. But what did kind of unfold in that one against the Longhorns?
Well, you know, no excuse at all in terms of losing the game. Lambert's got a great football team, and Coach Beach has done a tremendous job up there. We had a lot of stuff going on that week. Our team chaplain passed away suddenly on Saturday after the Lowndes game. We had some kids start getting some notoriety that you know, I warned them all week, don't read your press clippings. You know, I think Coach Saban says it best. You know, we drank the rat poison, man, and got ahead of ourselves, and had homecoming that week, and then we go out and it's 10-0 at halftime, and we come out and tie it up, and it's a 10-10 ball game, and then we turned it over 4 times in the second half, and they had a D lineman that intercepted a pass and scored. They tipped a pass and got it, and we just shot ourselves in the foot, and they capitalized, which good teams do, and they did. Really left a bad taste in our mouth. We didn't play well. Then we have an off week this week, so it's just been we had to swallow that pill pretty fast because we got a tough stretch coming up ahead of us.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the turnovers in that one just in terms of the stats, but was Lambert also, were they able to do like some halfback passes and kind of pull out the bag of tricks to just spark those?
Yeah, they ran 2 trick plays that got us. They had the momentum. We had them where we wanted them, I thought, and they did a great job executing. You know, I told our kids after the game, I said, all you can do is tip your hat to those guys, man. Kudos to them. They did a great job, and we got out-coached, we got outplayed, and all we can do is go back to work.
Yeah, and so, I mean, overall, though, I mean, you can't be too disappointed. A 4-2 non-region result, some big wins, some great lessons learned. But overall, I mean, what is your takeaway just from that, just after you've kind of looked back at film from previous weeks, cleaned up the mistakes, and just getting ready for this Region 2?
Well, the biggest thing we've learned is we got to get healthy, which we sat 5 kids out against Lambert that were banged up. We knew the region was starting in 2 weeks, so we kind of said, hey, we can sit them, rest them, let them have an off week, give them about 2.5 weeks to recover, and get them back for the games that count. I thought all our kids that stepped in for those starters did a tremendous job for us against Lambert, and it gave them some great experience as we're trying to build depth on this team too, to try to make a run at something. So right now, we practiced 2 days this week in pads and gave them 3 days off physically. And so yesterday I saw a very fresh football team and a healthy football team, and going into this weekend, really excited about coming back next week and getting after it.
And then what was your team chaplain's name? I'm sorry to hear that. That's really sad, but just want to make sure we give him a shout out in our game next week.
Yeah, his name was Cameron Bowman. Got a beautiful family. He's been with us for 6 years that we've been here. Just had a tremendous impact on our players, our program, our community. Just a sweet, sweet man. He was a young guy, it just happened suddenly. But, our kids are dedicating the rest of the season to him and his family, and just miss the guy like crazy. But I know he's with us in spirit.
Yeah, that's tough. And then, I mean, what do you think, though, about this next matchup against Carrollton? That's a team that has been really good this year, explosive. They got a quarterback everyone seems to be talking about, and Julian Lewis, his kind of breakout season. I know they fell short, I think, last night. Did they?
I think they were off last night, too.
Okay,
everybody in our region
sorry,
was
I'm
off.
thinking about someone else. Yeah, so Carrollton, what have you seen just from them?
Well, good football team, very well coached. Joey King does a great job over there. Great football coach, great coaching staff. The quarterback's a tremendous football player, I think, with elite arm talent. He's a guy that we got to get to, put pressure on him, but they do a really good job of, protecting him getting the ball out quick and getting it to his playmakers. But I think the unsung guy on that football team is the running back. Number 3, I don't know his name, but he is something else, hard to tackle, and he really gets that thing going too. And then defensively, they're very opportunistic on defense. I think they've caused 18 turnovers and maybe given up 11 or 12 touchdowns on the year. So we're going to have our hands full, but our kids are looking forward to the challenge and starting region play.
Yeah, and that's my bad. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I got it mixed up with Houston County falling short last night in their game against Lee County. But yeah, Carrollton 6-0, they're undefeated. You mentioned just the explosive running they've been able to do, their quarterback. So, I mean, during practice this week, in terms of just like scout team and kind of trying to prepare for their looks defensively with their schemes and coverage, I mean, how have you been able to kind of replicate what Carrollton's system looks like?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I think we're really close in what we do on offense. From an offensive schematic point of view, we go against our offense and our defense goes against our best on best. We do that every day, and that's something we've committed to down here, so that we can play at a game speed on a Friday night. You may risk an injury, but I believe in 7A, you've got to be able to play at game speed every Friday. And so our kids get a good look at the speed of the game and what the other team's doing, and our guys do a good job of servicing each other and taking care of one another. So that's how we kind of take care of that.
And then defensively, I mean, we'll have some coaches on that they really do have like an aggressive defensive style. They're just constantly bringing pressure. Would you say you guys are more of a just making sure you guys are in the right spot, flying to the football as a team unit, and just trying to not give up the big play?
Yeah, I would say, this year we're more of a, we're going to build, we've been able to rush the passer with 4 and drop 7. We have not had to bring a lot of pressure this year. We've got 4 really good D linemen that can get after it. And then I love our secondary and second level people. They're really smart, veteran players. We're able to mix the coverage up a good bit, not sit in the same thing all night. Our kids do a good job making adjustments and understanding what the other team's trying to do. So I would say we haven't been a real aggressive football team. We just try to be sound gap technique and gap sound and do our job. And they've done a good job with that.
Yeah, and you can kind of see it on the stats. A lot of guys at that 30 to 40 tackle range so far. So it's not just like one middle linebackers having to clean it up the entire time. So in terms of a team like Carrollton that's going to try to spread you out sideline to sideline and kind of disguise with the run, try to take the top off, I mean, how confident are you just your guys, they've seen a lot this season already, played against some great teams, just to be up to the challenge and just be in the right spot to be able to make that play?
Well, I think the one thing that our staff and our program has been able to do the last 6 years is our kids do not care who they play, when they play, where they play. They show up. They have a load of confidence in what we're doing. So that part doesn't freak us out at all. We embrace that opportunity, which I'm very proud of that in our kids. So no game is too big, but we know that we got to show up and play every Friday when the ball's rolled out, and we have a huge challenge in front of us next week, and we are very excited about the opportunity.
And then with plays like that halfback pass, I mean, what is the key against trick plays like that? Is it communication? Is it just eyes to the football, eyes to the quarterback? Because you obviously want to play fast, but I mean, how do you prepare for that?
Well, you got to show it to them. You got to prepare them and show it to them on film. You got to show it to them in practice. You know, we always talk about go back to your training. You know, don't try to do something you ain't supposed to do. If you're supposed to be in coverage, stay in coverage. Don't rush the passer. You know, we had two corners that did not play last week. Two of our starters did not play a snap, trying to heal them up a little bit. And so you had two young corners that may have got exposed on two of those plays. But, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, good. They're going ahead and getting that out of their system. So when they are starters, they're going to learn from that moment, you know. And every moment's a teaching moment, and you just got to stay eye disciplined and stay where you're supposed to stay and do your job. And we preach do your job, not somebody else's all the time. And you know, so hopefully we don't have to face that again and it happened to us.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good thing it happened in the non-region. But we were watching the Walton game last night. I know they had someone go down in their secondary, and it was sort of the same thing, I guess, you're talking about, having to rest your starters. I mean, North Paulding was really able to go after them and put pressure on that area. It wasn't necessarily a weak spot, but when you lose your premier guy in the secondary that can make tackles, I mean, how important is that in today's game with teams that can spread the ball around like Carrollton for your defensive backs to be able to tackle very well?
Well, you know, in 7A football, you've got to be able to tackle in space and make plays. And what we have found the last few years, when we get to the second round, we've been exposed in some of those areas. And that's something we have really, really worked on here as a program in our speed development, our strength development, and then taking it over, carrying it to the field and putting them in situations where they got to do that. And luckily, you know, we've got a lot of great players on offense that are great space players. So it stresses our defense every day in practice, and that's by design. And so we know to take the next step, we've got to be great in open field tackling and making those plays in space on guys if we want to do something special.
And then who else offensively? You mentioned Brady Tillman. He's had the big plays, but just who has come up for you and just being able to not necessarily be a workhorse, but be reliable and a guy that you want to get the ball in their hands?
I'd have to say Deontay Jones. He's a junior running back. He plays behind Trey Bowles, who's a senior, but Trey's been banged up a little bit with a hamstring. And Deontay they're kind of like a 1-2 punch. You know, Trey beats him up a little bit, and then Deontay has tremendous speed, and he goes in and makes a lot of plays, and we can get him the ball. And that kid last week, he broke his arm early in the game. We didn't know it was broken. And he played the rest of the game. Just tough as nails. And he has a cast on it now, but he's going to still be able to carry the ball. We've been working on that. So it's not going to affect him that way going forward. But another kid is a sophomore named GHSA State. He's about 6'3", 185, can stretch the field, take the top off of it, but just an elusive player with the ball in his hands. So that guy's done a great job for us as well.
Okay, so, have you seen that from him just all off-season where it's like, okay, he's a guy that we might be able to put in there and kind of help just add depth and different looks?
You talking about GHSA?
Yeah.
GHSA, you talking about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've known it since he's been here. He has elite talent. He's had to mature like a lot of young players have to. We're not real easy on him because I know he has a ton of potential. So we stay on him like white on rice to make him do the right things because we want him to make it to the next level because he has that kind of ability. So he's been a steady Eddie this whole season. And obviously Brady gets a lot of attention because he's kind of had a breakout year. A 2-year basketball player that came out with us before his junior year and just transformed his body this offseason. And he's 6'1", 202 pounds, and he can freaking roll. So he's just been a phenomenal player for us and having an unbelievable season. And I think he's about to blow up in the recruiting world because he's a special, special player that nobody really knows about.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's just talk about just the impact of football or activities have just on the entire school year. When East Coweta goes out there, represents the purple and gold and gets a win over Lowndes, that kind of transfers to the entire school through the hallways, just adds the buzz and excitement. Then you guys have, the tough situation with the chaplain, the loss to Lambert. How important is it, do you think, for your guys to just finish this season out strong, have success in the region, and just accomplish the goals that you guys had for yourselves preseason?
I think football in general in a high school is kind of the thermometer for the school. It sets the temperature for the rest of the year, the morale in the school. And we're very fortunate here at East Coweta. Our community support is unbelievable. The people in the community that have lived here forever, they come to the games, they travel to the games, they support us in any way we need support. Win or lose, they're behind us because they know in our program what we're trying to sell to these kids is not just football, but life lessons each and every day, that when they leave here, they're going to be better young men, better young women that are equipped to be successful in the world from the lessons that they've learned through football. And so every single day is a teaching moment. And I think that spreads to the other students in the school that don't play the sport because they hang around these guys. And they're down there celebrating with us after a game, so they're hearing what our coaches are saying to our kids and the lessons that we're trying to teach them. So, it's just it's always a fun year when you're winning because it gets everybody excited. But I think the people here have kind of figured out how we do things, why we do things, and their support has just been tremendous.
I completely agree. When just being involved in a extracurricular or sport, I think it does help kids just navigate those 4 years of high school, just having a commitment, a responsibility. But just in terms of during the game, have you seen that engagement from your players where they're tuned in, there's no messing around on the sidelines, they know what the situation is, and even if they might not necessarily be playing or be first string or second string, the entire team is kind of involved, bought in together?
Yeah, one thing we preach here is, every single kid is not going to play. It's just not going to happen. But every single kid has a role on our football team in order to help us be successful, and every single person plays a part. And so, we have our starters, we have our backups and different guys like that. But then those other guys are, they're the hype squad. They're on the sideline encouraging other guys and boosting them up, and everybody kind of embraces their role. And if they get a chance to play, great, but there's no complaining and crying if they're not playing because they know that they're part of something. And our coaching staff here does a great job with, the worst player on our football team, our philosophy is he needs to feel like the most important, because then you eliminate locker room lawyers and stuff like that, and everybody feels a part. And every kid knows we love them, whether they make plays or not. And if they don't make plays or they screw up, we still love them. So our program is built on I love my teammates, and that resonates through everything we do, how we do things, and it's been a blessing to see it kind of come to fruition with these kids in this program.
Yep, and then the last point / question I want to ask, you're going to be going to Carrollton. You mentioned your guys have that attitude. It doesn't matter who they're playing each week, which that's obviously a result of playing all these tough games. But, I mean, how important is this game just in terms of the goals of securing some home playoff games this year?
Well, it's going to be a tough game, number one, but in our region with only 5 teams, you only play 4 region games. And you can't afford to lose a game if you're trying to win a region championship because you need a lot of things to happen. So we know the importance of the game, how big it is. We can only win one at a time, and we know next week we need to win that ball game in order to set ourselves up moving forward.
Absolutely, and you guys have had the bye week. I know you're going to be ready to get out there. That is going to be such a huge game. Coach, we really appreciate you coming on. I know Najee Wilkins will probably reach out next week to get a nice preview up. We'll learn more about your team, some of the guys that we didn't mention. So I really appreciate it, Coach Small. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate what you guys do for high school sports, man. It's awesome.
Yes, sir. All right. So there goes Coach Small. We're going to take one more quick break. Thank our sponsors, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are our Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. So I'm texting Coach Helmrich. We're going to have him on. I was going to have him on in this last segment, but then there's some miscommunication. But he'll be on Monday. But I want to spend the last, 11 minutes, 10 minutes talking about last night's games. Of course, it was the rare Thursday night where we had all these matchups because everyone moved them early on, I think, Monday. I mean, I didn't even know there was a potential hurricane, and then next thing I know, this thing's in Cuba, and then all of Georgia seemingly is changing the schedule. So it looks like it's going to avoid us, so that's good. But last night was insane in terms of the games. I thought the big result was Calhoun's win over Cartersville. That was Najee's game of the week this last week. So, I mean, he's been picking some good ones. The Stars Mill-LaGrange game, Calhoun-Cartersville. Who was the one before that? Parkview Mill Creek. I think he also picked the East Coweta Lambert one, which that was a crazy game. But, I mean, in that one, Calhoun was up 28-7. That's the exact same thing that happened to Cartersville earlier in the year where Alatoona stormed out to this huge lead. I think Cartersville had to throw their freshman quarterback out there, and then they have this incredible comeback. They were down 21-0, or I think it was 20-0, then they win 28-20. And so it looked like they might do it again. They end up tying it up at the end of regulation. They go into 3 overtimes, though, and Calhoun is able to survive 50-48 in triple overtime for the road win that snapped a 4-game losing streak. Calhoun had to Cartersville, and that's a big region victory right there. So I thought that was a very interesting result. Cartersville was number 1 in 6A. They end up falling short. I mentioned they had a ton of turnovers early. They fight all the way back, and then Calhoun is able to survive. So a huge win for the Yellow Jackets. I thought Grayson, they rebounded from that loss to Lowndes with a 26-0 win over Newton. That was the first shutout Newton's had since losing to Lowndes in the first round of the 2020 playoffs. So Grayson gets a nice shutout win over Newton. We know how good Grayson's defense is, but still think that offense can get going a little bit more. They've wanted to be a running football team. They have the ability to pass, but still it was a kind of slow start. Newton has a great defensive front. They put a lot of pressure on them, but Grayson's eventually able to take advantage of the field position and close that one out. Mountain View gets a big win over Decula, 29-7. They were only up 9-7 at the half. They pull away. Decula's a good football team, so a big win for Mountain View. Parkview serves South Gwinnett. It's back-to-back loss in the region, 41-7. So they rebound from the loss to Mill Creek and then get the big win over South Gwinnett. So South Gwinnett's going to have to figure things out because they've lost to Norcross and Parkview big in consecutive weeks, and they still have to play Grayson and Brookwood. So they need to get going and kind of reassess what they've learned from those two matchups. Mill Creek looked outstanding. I mentioned I put them at number 1 after last week when Grayson went down. I did have them at number 3, and I sent Buford down from number 1 to number 2 because I just think Mill Creek looks so good. The way their offense is playing, you have Caleb Downs coming in, just a red zone threat. He can also catch, but then Hayden Clark is finding Macau Woods for a bunch of touchdowns. You have Jamal Anderson on defense. He's been outstanding. Obviously, Caleb Downs on defense also, and then who else in that backfield? I think it's God, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But, yeah, they're Cam Robinson. Okay. Gosh, Cam Robinson, that's the guy that has been huge for Mill Creek's running attack, and they win 58-7 on Central Gwinnett. Central Gwinnett did not score until I think a minute 30 left. So just another dominant performance by Mill Creek. Central Gwinnett went into that game undefeated, and they just get outclassed by the Hawks. Brookwood, they pull away from Archer 24-11. Archer really wanted that one, a region opener game. They've been struggling to get in the win column this season. They've still been in some close games, but Brookwood's able to get a big one, and Dylan Lonergan was great in that one. He had all 3 touchdowns in that one. I think all through the air. Yep. So then down in 6A, you have Marist beating Dunwoody 42-3. That was a big result for them. Rome 70-0 over Woodstock. I mean, I don't know what's going on at Woodstock. I mean, they're having a tough sledding this season, but Rome obviously looks outstanding. Martell Height was the big playmaker in that game. He had a ton of touchdowns. Reese Fountain was good. He's having a great season at quarterback, and Rome obviously has some big matchups coming up ahead of them. Sequoia gets a tough 13-7 win over River Ridge. And then Lee County, the big result everyone's going to be talking about, 50-21 win over Houston County. They absolutely dominated. Houston County was undefeated heading into it. And I think that game right there shows that it is Hughes and the Trojans as the 2 top horses in 6A right now. That's a statement win for Lee County. Big win over Houston, and we will see. But they were up 36-14 at the half. And their running back, Osman Cromah, had 3 touchdown runs, 12 yards, but then 76 yards and 71 yards. So just explosive playmakers everywhere for Lee County. Woodward Academy cruised past Lovejoy 34-7. I think they're a top 10 team. Creekview had a big 33-7 win over Etowah. They're 2-0 in Region 6 now. So that's a big win. You have, let's see, Shiloh found the win column in a 55-7 win over Appalachia. So that's good for them. And then in 5A, I thought this was a really interesting result. Loganville and Eastside. Loganville was undefeated. Eastside had just inserted itself into the rankings, I think, at number 10. I didn't have them ranked, but forgot who I had at number 10 in 5A. But Eastside had a chance. So Loganville was up 13-10. Eastside ends up missing I think, a 43-yard field goal that would have tied it up, and Loganville is able to hang on and go undefeated through this point. So Loganville's off to its best start in a long time, probably since Coach Godfrey was there, Parkview's head coach. So Loganville looks outstanding. Eastside, a tough loss for them, but they're certainly going to rebound from that and be motivated. And it's also funny, Eastside's only touchdown in that game came on the first play, a 79-yard run by Kenai Greer. So that's a great effort by Loganville to respond to that and keep them out of the end zone the rest of the game. Just another field goal, and then I mentioned that they missed one to potentially tie it up. Jefferson had a big win over Winterboro, 28-0. They're 2-0 in the region. Cambridge really smacked Greater Atlanta Christian 43-13. So that's a big win for Cambridge. They're always a tough team. Cass is starting to play really good football. We saw their heartbreaking loss to Kennesaw Mountain and Corky Kell, who's a great team, and they beat Woodland Cartersville 49-12. So Cass, they're a program that hasn't had success, but they've been rolling as of late, and that's a huge boost for them. The other result, Creekside and Mays. Mays had a chance to win that game. Their quarterback, Solomon Evans, actually caught a touchdown pass, and they were up 21-14 with 2:31 left in the game. And then that was Travis Terrell Jr. for Creekside, their dual threat quarterback. He's able to drop back, find some space, and then go right up the middle for a 43-yard touchdown. And then Kerry Morrow got the 2-point conversion. He ran that one in, and they steal a 22-21 win over Mays. So Mays has had some heartbreakers this season. They were leading that entire game. Creekside didn't get the lead until 2:31 left in it. And then that gamble pays off for them on the 2-point conversion. So we've seen a couple of those, or several teams this year gambling on the 2-point conversion. I'll go to another one right now, Westminster against Holy Innocents. They went for the 2-point conversion with less than a minute left and are able to beat Holy Innocents 15-14. So, I mean, that was a huge decision right there. That was John Collier finding Armstrong Jones in the end zone for the victory. So, great result right there, and 2 games where that aggressive decision-making by the coaching staff to go for 2 paid off. I don't know what the analytics are in that. Some coaches feel like it's a good gamble, but we'll see. Pace Academy had a big win over Hampton. Hampton started off the season 4-0, but they've lost back-to-back now. Thought another team that people should probably just take note of, not even just this season but heading to the future, is East Forsyth. They're only, I think, 3 years old as a program, and they're 4-1 right now. They had a really tough, 1 or 2 point loss last week in the region play, but they come out and beat East Hall 45-0. So East Forsyth, I think, they have a chance to make the playoffs for the first time ever this year. They're playing a really good football, and Brandon Peoples and Will Moffitt had big-time performances in that one. Moffitt with 3 rushing touchdowns, and then the quarterback, Covey Edgel, and receiver Jackson Norman also went for a touchdown. And then their kicker, Daniel Neary, had a 27-yard field goal. These fruit flies, man. All right, and then Troop, down in Class 4A, 63-0 win over North Clayton. They looked so good last week against Stars Mill, and then this one was just, I mean, they probably played every single guy on their sideline, and they were just getting touchdown after touchdown. They led 43-0 at the half. North Oconee, a team that I said was my number 1 in 4A. It's between them and Cedartown, who's actually going to play Central Carroll tonight. That will be a big one to watch. Central Carroll is a good football team, and Cedartown obviously has been outstanding. But we ultimately decided to put North Oconee at number 2. But 70-0 win over North Hall. Their quarterback, Max Wilson, 3 touchdowns, also a touchdown pass. And then they also have Khalil Barnes, who's been really great for them, and then Dom Elder Jr. So, I mean, North Oconee and Cedartown, I think, are the two best teams right now in 4A, but then you have Troop and Teo Todd, who, I mean, he has a chance to be the player of the year. He's just got super speed, and we've seen his jump passes in the game against, I think it was Callaway. Just a really special player, probably the best athlete in all of 4A. LaGrange, we had their win over Riverdale. Yes, it was Whitewater getting the 50-13 win over Fayette County. And then Cairo looks hot. They had the 62-0 win over Salem last week. They get a 34-0 win over Shaw last night. So that's a big margin of victory for Cairo. They're really coming on. And then Hapeville Charter was trying to get its first win of the season. They end up falling 13-12 to Stevenson. That was a tough one. But I still think that's a positive sign for Hapeville. To play Stevenson that close and have a chance. They can, I mean, the playoffs are still in the picture. They can start getting some region wins. And then, yeah, I think probably the toughest loss in all 4A was Cherokee Bluff. Just had a really mistake-filled game against Cedar Shoals, and they've had a couple of them in a row, and so they fall 21-19 to Cedar Shoals. So I think Cherokee Bluff is a good football team. They actually went undefeated in the regular season last year. They're new to 4A, and they just have had some ugly losses, and that is another one right there. So I think they dropped to 1-2 in the region, and that's Region 8. The big result in 3A was Hebron Christian remains undefeated. They go up from A private into 3A this season. And, man, are they making noise. They beat Oconee County 35-28. We know how good Oconee County's defense is. It's senior-led. It's physical. And they're able to put up 35 points on them. That is really impressive. And I think that was Gavin Hall had a big day. He scored 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead one. But I think, yeah, so Hebron Christian was up 27-7 in that game. Whit Weeks had a big performance. They had success, but, I mean, they jump out to a huge lead and hold on. That's a huge win for Hebron Christian. Look for the polls because I think, yeah, Hebron was unranked. Oconee County was number 5, and that's going to change everything. And then one more result I want to talk about in 3A was Wesleyan beating Lumpkin County. Lumpkin County was undefeated heading into that one. Wesleyan was coming off a loss to Gilmer. So Gilmer is a team that I've been trying to bring attention to. They've got Paul Standard as head coach. They beat Wesleyan soundly last week. Lumpkin County was thought to be the team to beat in the region this year. And then Gilmer just had a big win last night, I think over, God, who was it? I wrote it down, but they ended up winning 45-3 last night. So Gilmer puts itself in a great position in that region. And then Dawson County beat White County. So now it's only Gilmer and Dawson County that are undefeated in the region at this point. They're going to obviously match up later in the season. It's a great region down in 3A, and Gilmer looks outstanding. So then in 2A, Callaway got a big win over Columbia. That was important for them. Quay Whitfield was outstanding. He had 3 touchdowns. And then we also have Prince Avenue Christian continues to roll down in Class A Division I. They're 5-0, and leading them, of course, is Aaron Philo, and they just air it out. I mean, they have Bailey Stockton at at receiver. He's breaking all these records. I think what's so interesting about Prince Avenue, when we had Coach Vandergriff on last year, they had 3 different receivers with over 1,000 receiving yards. That's how much they pass. And the funny thing is most of the times they aren't even playing in the second half. So in terms of, yeah, they play down in Class A private, but in terms of the numbers they're putting up and the type of offense they're running and just the all-out passing philosophy of Prince Avenue Christian with Aaron Philo at quarterback, I mean, they look really good, and Mary Persons was no match for them, a good 3A program, so 47-14. Prince Avenue, obviously the favorite this year in Class A, but you also have Rabun County got a big win over Fellowship Christian. They're still undefeated. That was 21-16. Fellowship Christian looks good despite that. And then Manchester had a big 53-0 win over Macon County down in Class A Division II. And then we have a couple games that happened on Wednesday that I want to note. Colquitt County remains undefeated, 30-7 win over Lincoln, Florida. So once again, Region 1 and 7A, Colquitt, Lowndes, Valdosta, Camden, Richmond Hill. That's going to be a really exciting next couple weeks down in South Georgia. Thomas County Central, they're new to Class 6A, and they are cruising. They're undefeated still, and they beat Veterans 48-21. So they're going to be in that region with Lee County and Houston County after Houston's loss. I mean, that's putting them on a one-way track to play Lee County potentially for the region, and that will be a fun one. Brunswick, they beat Glen Academy last week, and then they got the 56-39 win over Grovetown on Wednesday. Also, Berrien looks good down in 2A. Now watch out for them. Jeremiah Tillman's a huge playmaker, and then Jeff Davis. And then you also have Seminole County getting a big 49-0 win over Baconton Charter. So you can go to scoreatlanta.com. You can check out last night's Thursday night roundup. I think we have 45 different games covered on it, and then we're going to be hitting these games tonight as well. I mentioned the big one against Cedartown and Central Carroll. That's one that I'm really looking forward to, but there's some other ones. You can go look at our scoreboard, and you'll see which ones we still have, and then we'll have our rankings up this weekend. We'll try to get those out on Sunday morning, and then also our blog. And one more reminder, please go to scoreatl.com, and you can get tickets for our Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame on October 22nd. I'm going to be there. All the board members are going to be there. Look at this right here. These are the coats, I don't know, I can't see if I'm in the frame or not, but these are the coats the jackets that all the inductees are going to get. It's going to be at the College Football Hall of Fame. We've had to track down all their sizes, so, I mean, we know who's going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of work has gone into it, and you can get your tickets at scoreatl.com and join us for a historic celebration and being there for the first ever inaugural class. So that'll be fun. But we will be back on Monday with another great lineup of guests, and we are going to be televising that East Coweta Carrollton game. So we'll have more coverage on that. A truly great matchup, a big region game we are looking forward to. So thank you so much, and enjoy the Friday night action.